Remember this Minecraft thing? Let's build something for that.
This video is proudly sponsored by Oxide Hosting. With this hosting company, you can never go wrong. They provide outstanding customer support and all for a low price. Their services range from website hosting to Minecraft server hosting. If you are interested in them, be sure to check out the link in the description below.
Hey, it's me, Dennis on the Tree, and welcome back to another MenuDocs tutorial. Today we are going to look at implementing the Mojang API in our bot. But before we do that, we must update some libraries. First of all, we must update API to 4.1.0_100. And we must update bot comments to 1.0.73. This is because at the time of recording, these are the latest versions of the libraries and they contain bug fixes and everything. In general, it is good practice to keep up to date with the libraries that you are using. So to get started, let's create a new command class in our command package. And this command is going to be called Minecraft command. This Minecraft command, of course, implements I command. And we will override these following methods as usual. The name will be Minecraft and the help will be get the UUID or name history of a player. Usage Minecraft UUID or the name, and then we have the username. And actually this should be username or UUID. The API that we will be using is api.mojang.com and it has some stuff in there. And as you can see, for example, for Deviant Flight, which is one of my accounts, it will return this is the UUID and this is the username. I can also go to my own username, and then you can see my own username, and of course we can put in some random stuff and it will redirect back. Let's look at the network log real quick. So let's put in some random stuff. And what we can see in the network log is that it returned a status of 204 no content. So that's good to keep in mind. If the username does not exist, this will return a status code of 204. So let's actually have a look at the second API that we will be using. And for this we need to copy a UUID, which is api.mojang.com/user/profiles/UUID/names. And as you can see, for me, it returns just my own name. If you go to Deviant Flight and we grab their UUID, you can see it actually has two names, the previous ones and the current one with the changed to at. We're gonna ignore this timestamp for now, but also let's have a look what will happen if we put an invalid UUID in here. It will also return a 204 status code. That is very good to keep in mind, so we can check against that. So the first thing that we're going to do in our Minecraft command is do some arguments check. So again, ctx.get args, and we're gonna make a variable out of this. Let's call this args, and we also need the channel dot get channel, and let's make a variable out of that as well. So the first thing we need to do is check if the arguments are less than 2, because as you can see down here, we first need the UUID or name, and then we need the username or the UUID. So if args.size is less than 2, we're gonna return, and we're gonna say channel.sendMessage correct used is Minecraft UUID names or username and UUID. Next up, we're gonna get the item and the ID from the args, and the item will either be UUID or names, and the ID will be a username or a UUID. We can do this with an if statement. So if item dot equals UUID and else if item equals names, fetch names. And finally we're gonna say else channel dot send message format and say percentage s is not known. Please either choose UUID or names. And we're gonna queue this off. And as parameter, we're gonna give this the item. So now that this is done, we can go and implement the methods to fetch the UUID and the name. So let's get started with the UUID. This can be a private void. And yes, this is a void return type because we're not going to return anything from this method. We're gonna use a consumer callback as this is an async operation and we don't want to block the event thread. So fetch UUID string username, and this will be a consumer with a string as type. May I import you? I'm gonna call this a callback. So what we want to do now is say webutils.instance, and we're gonna say get JSON object. Thank you for auto-completing my own API, but that is not what we need. I'm gonna move this one to a new line because we also need a second argument. And with the second argument, we can configure some HTTP request filters and some validators. So what we can do with this, we can say builder, and then builder.set status code validator, status code validator dot accept 200. And what this will do is only accept the 200 status code. So if we get a 204, for example, it will fail and call the error consumer. And this is really useful for like checking if it exists or not, because the API will return a status code of 200 when the username is found. So then we can go over to our browser and copy the URL, paste it in the URL field, and remove the username with the actual username. Then we're gonna call the async operator on this. Here we're gonna say JSON and as second argument we will have an error, and if we have an error we will just go and callback.accept null. And because we're passing a null here, we can let our code know that, well, nothing was found, so it's null. But let's look again at what we get returned from the JSON. So in this JSON, we have a ID and a name. So what we can do is we only really need this ID. So what we can do is callback.accept JSON.get ID, and we're gonna say as text. Now we can scroll up to our UUID fetcher, and we're gonna type fetch UUID with the ID, and here we can get the UUID scooped back up. First we're gonna check if the UUID equals a null, and if it is, we're gonna return, and we're also gonna say user with name ID was not found. So just letting the user know that they made a mistake. After this, we're just gonna say channel.sendMessage ID, so this will be the username in this case, and we're gonna append -s UUID as UUID and send that off. So let's register this in our command manager. New Minecraft command. We're gonna check if this works, and then we're gonna come back and implement the names API. So now that we are in Discord, we can say Minecraft, and as you can see, correct use is Minecraft UUID names username UUID. So we're gonna say Minecraft UUID my own username. And as you can see, there's my own UUID. If I pick a username that doesn't exist, we can say user with username was not found. So now that we know this works, we can shut the bot down and let's implement the names feature. So now that we are back in the code, we can add a new method, which is also a private void. And herein we're gonna say fetch name history. And instead of the username, we will have a UUID. And instead of a string in the callback, we'll have a list of strings. What we can essentially do is copy this first block of code and paste it in here. But instead of this API, we're gonna say UUID. And let's have a look at our API. So this is the first part we need. And then there's a second part which is /names. So let's append that on as well. We can leave the error callback as is, but we can't leave the this as is. So let's leave this here for now. So what we need to do is we need to make a new array list. So list string names equals a new array list. And because this is a JSON array and not a JSON object, we want to say get JSON array. Now we can say JSON.for each item names.add item.get name.as text. That's correct. That is very correct. And then we're going to just pass the names into our callback consumer. So now that this function is done, we can also implement it in our code. So what we can do is fetch name history. We'll have the ID. And here we'll get a list of names. So first of all, we're just going to check if name is null and say that your UUID is not valid. Then we're going to join the names. So string.join, and I'm gonna join them on a comma and a space and say names. Just to make a variable around this, and names joined. There we go. And then we're gonna say channel.send a message format name history for the UUID, and then we're gonna say :n and another parameter. The first parameter is the ID and the second one is names joined. We're gonna queue this off and let's check if it works. So let's check if this names history thing works. So Minecraft names, let's copy my own UUID and let's hit enter and say name history for that, and we just get mine. So Minecraft UUID Deviant Flight, we get their UUID. Let's just copy this because I'm too lazy to type it out. Let's paste in their UUID, and as you can see, we get the two names that they had. So let's do another username check that for an account I don't own. So Minecraft UUID Strandable. And as you can see, Strandable's UUID is this. So Minecraft names. And as you can see, we have Aquatic Nation. No idea what that is. And we have Strandable in the name history. So that's how you can really easily make your own Minecraft name history command with the official Mojang API. If you like this video, make sure to leave a like, subscribe to MenuDocs if you haven't already, and I'll see you guys next time with another tutorial. Goodbye!